Hey everyone, my name is Robin Watha.
And my name is Gabriel Mataitusi, and welcome to the Extra Season Podcast.
Hell yeah. So I am so excited to have Gabe on here on the podcast.
Thank you.
We met not too long ago.
Yeah.
Literally, very recently.
Yeah, extremely, like within the month,
Yeah, within the past month. And it's cool because I've seen a lot of your guys' work. And so for those of you guys who don't know Gabe, him and his wife own the Royal Lounge, which is a his and hers salon up in Salt Lake City.
Correct.
And I just remember seeing this on social media and I was like, whoa, this is so dope. It's poly owned.
Yeah.
I knew immediately that I wanted to bring one or even both of you guys onto the podcast. So your wife isn't here today.
Yeah.
Her name's Faith.
Yes.
But we'll probably bring her on for another episode so we can learn a little bit more about her story. But today we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive with Gabe and talk about how they started the Royal Lounge. But for those of you guys who don't know him, I want to give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself, let people know where you're from, your cultural background, things like that.
For sure. So my name is Gabriel Mataitusi. Once again, I was born in California, in the IE in Riverside. Me and my family, we moved out of California when I was around the age of 7. We moved to Atlanta. So my dad worked for Delta, still does work for Delta, Team Delta.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. We know all the stories with Team Delta. My dad's not a part of that. But yeah, we moved out to Atlanta to the hub out there. And so I claim that I was raised in Atlanta. That's where I went to school. I learned a lot of life lessons. And then from Atlanta, I served a mission in Samoa. And so left Atlanta, was in Samoa. And we'll probably go deeper into that story. But then we moved here to Utah in 2018. And I've been here
so
ever
not
since.
too long.
Not too long. Not too long. I haven't hit that time period to where you're considered a resident of the state yet, right?
I don't think anybody who moves in their like adulthood will ever claim Utah, which is fine.
A lot of people I talk to that are from out of state are like, oh no, I'm from here, but I've lived here like 20 years. Just claim Utah.
Yeah, just claim it. But I think just learning more about your guys' salon and just the work and the services that you guys offer there. So I just went not too long ago for a haircut.
Yes, yes.
But for those of you guys who don't know, the Royal Lounge, it's a his and her salon. And he obviously runs like the his side.
Correct.
His wife Faith runs the her side. And they offer so many different services. So can you just give us a breakdown of what you guys currently offer and what you guys are looking to do in the future?
Yeah, good question. So as of right now, on the his side, I am a barber. As you mentioned, I've got 3 other barbers as well. And on top of that, I myself do professional teeth whitening, gold grills, gold teeth. We know in the Polynesian culture, especially in the Tongan culture, the Nifo gola, right, is what they call it. Yeah, we do all that. And then I do tiny tattoos as well. So a little bit of everything. And then on my wife's side, she does anything beauty that you can think of. So from nails to eyelashes to body sculpting, waxing. But one thing that kind of sets us apart from a lot of other beauty businesses is we offer certification courses.
Cool.
And so in this industry, in the beauty industry, most people don't know, but it's $1 billion industry. Right. We hear all these big names like L'Oreal and all these other makeup brands, but it's $1 billion industry and we're not the type of people to gatekeep. And so when we started our business, we were like, hey, there's so much room for not only our people as Polynesian people, but everyone in this industry. And so we started doing certification courses for almost all the services that we offer. You can get certified and do it yourself.
Dang. And so I love that you guys have kind of just taken this opportunity. It's growing into something more. But I think what I'm like most impressed about is how I feel like a lot of people would open up like a salon or something and be satisfied with the fact that they opened up a salon.
Right.
But you guys like opened it up and you guys are like, no, we want to be like a one-stop shop for everything, which is crazy to me. And like, I think like just going over for the first time and like hearing about all the different services you guys offer, I was just like so impressed. Like once I heard that you guys did gold grills, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I need a grill.
You need to stud it out.
Do I need one gold tooth to show how Tongan I am?
Part-time podcaster, part-time rapper, right?
Yeah, I was like, don't tempt me.
Mixtape coming soon.
Don't tempt me with a good time. But yeah, I just like love the idea of the Royal Lounge. I think that your pricing is super competitive as well.
Extremely.
Like when I went in for a haircut, can I just break this down? I went in for a freaking haircut, and Gabe was my barber, but I also got a facial.
Yes.
And that was like part of the service. And I think it was like $45.
Yeah.
Which is like mind blowing to me because I feel like if you go anywhere nowadays just for a cut, like if you're looking for a good haircut, you're looking like $50,
Yeah.
like maybe. And that's before tip and everything.
Exactly.
And so I know that something that I've heard from you and also from Faith is how like you guys wanted to offer like competitive pricing like that so that you guys can, I don't know, like let people of like minority groups and different things like that kind of have an opportunity to participate in those activities. And I think that's so dope. And especially in this economy, I mean, like it's probably not easy.
No, we know how expensive stuff is. I mean, groceries, gas. And so our pricing, we realized that, you know, growing up, myself personally, haircuts, whenever I did get a haircut, my parents would take me to Great Clips. Sports Clips. Yeah. Because it was the cheapest place around, like $7 for a haircut. And they would mess me up. It was horrible. And so I understood and I viewed our services that we offer as like, oh, dang, you only see like rich people doing these things, like getting eyelashes, facials, you know, nice facial treatments and stuff like that. And so when we came up with this price, when we said we wanted to make it affordable for everybody, we want them to be able to experience that luxury that a lot of people might view it as, oh, you know what, I only see this in movies. I've never experienced this stuff before. That way everyone could get the chance to try it out.
No, I think that's brilliant. I think it's brilliant marketing. I think that what you guys offer is super diverse. And even just for his side, you said that you do teeth whitening, you do grills and tattoos.
Yes.
And I know that when I was getting my haircut, you kind of were talking about how you guys are looking to like expand your services even more with Faith going into nursing school, right?
Correct.
And that is just so cool. And so I think for me, like I said, it's just like there's just like a hunger here that I feel like a lot of people would have just been satisfied opening up like a barber shop or something.
Yeah. But like, I've hit the end goal.
Yeah.
No.
And so I mean, like, what motivates you guys to keep wanting more? And do you think there's like a negative side to that for always wanting to add on services or anything like that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I don't view it as negative at all. I think that that's what is necessary in order for a business to continue to grow and stay, you know, have stability. And so we see a lot of big box businesses like Toys R Us, for example, or Redbox, right? Those two businesses, they failed as the years went on because they didn't get ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And so they're not staying relevant. They're
even
not
like Blockbuster. Like so many.
Exactly. A lot of businesses file for bankruptcy because they're not staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And so that's where the business aspect comes into play, where by us adding on services that are relevant and that are growing and trending and stuff like that, that's where we're able to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and I think it helps you guys cast like such a wide net.
Yes.
Because like even if nobody's coming in for a haircut, you could still book your teeth whitening. You can still get a body sculpting or a massage or whatever.
You could spend a whole week at our shop if you wanted
dead
to.
Ass. I feel like I went over there. I came back from the salon and I like was talking to my wife about it. I was like, we like need to go. We need to do like a date night over there. And I was showing her your guys' website with everything that they like you guys offer, and she's just like, we can spend all day over there. And I was like,
day.
Yeah.
And there are couples that actually do that. Surprisingly.
I believe it.
And so that's when we opened the his and hers, we're like, you know what would be perfect? Date night.
Yeah.
Date night. You came in, you saw, so I've got 2 daughters and they're usually at the salon running around, right? So people will bring their kids in as well. And it's a family environment. We want everyone to feel welcome.
I'll be bringing my kids in next week.
Stop on in. Part-time daycare at the Royal Lounge.
No, and so I think it's just so cool seeing what you guys have been able to make so far. And I wanted to know like what sparked the idea for this his and her salon, and was that the original idea or did it kind of grow into that?
Good question. Yeah, so me and my wife, we both started out as med school students. We both attended the University of Utah.
Is that how you guys met?
That is how we met. Yeah. So once I moved here in 2018, I attended the U. And so, I mean, just going to that question, like how we met, that's a big topic.
Yeah,
for sure. So I moved out here. I had a prior girlfriend of 6 years. And, you know, she had plans of moving out here with me and stuff like that. And then I was working at Amazon at the time, and my brother-in-law said, hey, I know you're, they asked me to train her brother, which is not my brother-in-law. And they said, hey, I know you're going to the U. if you're looking for friends, you just moved here. My sister goes there. She's studying pre-med, which is what you're going in. So just reach out to her and make some friends out here. Just a nice gesture. And so then I added her on social media. I said, hey, let's go out. And, one thing led to another. And she didn't know I had a girlfriend at the time. But there were traits in my wife that my ex-girlfriend didn't have. And so it was, as cliche as it sounds, it was love at first sight for me.
Wow. So you wrote off your girlfriend just like that?
I called her that night. And call me an asshole if you want. But I called her that night and I said, hey, I found someone else. And she understood. She understood. I mean, we were on and off for 6 years. And so it wasn't.
And she wasn't here in Utah.
She wasn't
at the time.
She wasn't. No. And I mean, I was looking at apartments and stuff delivering for Amazon. I would go and bring flyers from the leasing offices. But she understood. And then me and my wife got together. And so from pre-med, we got married. We got pregnant with our oldest daughter, Royal, which is who our salon is named after.
I love that.
Something to leave them behind. Yeah. But yeah, then we got pregnant and we came to the hard realization that, hey, student debt is coming up.
Both of you guys were in school.
Both in school. Just got married. We've got a baby on the way. Bills need to be paid.
Yeah.
What can we do? And so that's where the idea of our business came from. And so my wife, we both dropped out. She decided, hey, I've gotten my eyelashes done before. I don't think it's that hard. I've got a steady hand. Let me go to school for this. And I was like, okay. So I supported her wholeheartedly. I worked my full-time job and she graduated from beauty school, from esthetician school, got her license, and we started our business out of our house.
Dang. So I'm curious.
Yes.
Like when you guys are kind of thinking about how to make ends meet, like you have your daughter, your wife brings up that like maybe she can do lashes. Was there any like hesitation for you for that where it's like, okay, med school or lashes?
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were getting the short end of the stick? Like, was there an argument about that? What did that look like?
So, I mean, I was kind of uncertain, of course, because starting a business, there's a fear behind it. But so my wife growing up, her mom, which is our office manager, she runs everything for our business.
She's the best.
Yes.
I've met her a few times.
She's amazing.
She's so dope.
So when our kids aren't at the salon, they're most of the time with her. And so she's willing to do whatever it takes to help our business grow. But growing up, my wife, any idea she had or even her brothers had, they would always take it to her mom and her mom would support them wholeheartedly.
I love that.
And that's a value that I wanted to take on when I got married to my wife. And when she came to me with this idea, I thought to myself, oh, geez, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's like a million ways to say no.
Yeah. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? She can do it. She's done everything she's put her mind to in the past. So I know that she'll do this wholeheartedly. And if we fail, we fail. But at least I know she went down trying. She went down without a fight.
No, I love that mindset. And I think like within marriage, I don't think like a lot of people can have those conversations like that where they can like support their spouse like wholeheartedly, because I feel like I'm the Debbie Downer all the time. Where I'm just like, I don't know if that's a great idea. I'm like, maybe you should think about this, or like, I don't think you thought about this.
Yeah.
But I mean, like there are those moments where like if my spouse is saying something and I'm just like, yeah, we need to do it. We need to make this happen. But I just think it's so cool that, again, you guys both made an executive decision together to drop out of pre-med or your guys' school program to do this. And so when she goes to esthetician school, when did you decide like, okay, not only are we going to do lashes and like offer those services, I think I should jump in here and start doing hair. How did that kind of come into the mix? Yeah.
So I had my full-time job while she was going to school. So I was a regional sales director for a mattress company. So, traveling, working long hours and all that. And then we got pregnant with our second daughter, and her name's Lisi Lemomi. And my wife said, you know what? One thing that you can't get back is time. And that's one thing that we feel like we're losing because we're so busy, me with my full-time job, her with the business, running everything. Yeah. And so then she said, babe, you should quit your 9 to 5 and come pursue the business full-time with me. And that was a hard decision for me.
Yeah, I freaking bet.
I was good at what I did. I loved it and I made great money. And she convinced me and said, we'll be all right. We'll be all right financially. And she made it possible for me to leave my 9-to-5 job while I grew my clientele and stuff. And growing up, I always I cut hair and stuff in the past. Like I said, I learned how to cut my own hair because my parents would take me to Great Clips. And then I said, you know what, that's a good idea. And so that's when the idea of a barbershop came into play with our business. The first service that I actually offered at our business was professional teeth whitening. And I did that. I got certified and licensed in that 4 years ago.
Dang.
And so that was the first service that I actually did myself because my wife was wanting to do it. And she is like the workhorse. And she was like, I'm going to go do professional teeth whitening. I was like, you know what, babe? You're already busy as is.
You're already doing a lot.
I'm not seeing you enough. Let me do professional teeth whitening. Let me try it out. That way we can actually be together in our business and I could take appointments when I get off from work or before work and vice versa.
Dang. And so when did you guys officially open up the Royal Lounge?
So we've been in business almost 7 years now. So we started, what is that, pre-COVID years.
Wow.
That was a time. That was a time. So we opened up out of our house. Like I mentioned, we had a basement that I built out like a little beauty room for her. And people would park in front of our house, go down our carport into the back door to get to their appointment. And low-key ghetto, but we made it work. Yeah. And I mean, we live in a neighborhood where we have a lot of Karens. And so by all these cars parking in front of our house, people were like, oh, they're doing drugs. They're selling drugs.
Officer.
So we would have cops pull up to our house, be like, no, we're running a business. You can come check. There's our business license, blah, blah, blah. And so then after a year.
Like, do you want to book an appointment?
Officer, I think you need lashes.
I'm like, also, you should get a lash book.
Your skin looks pretty bad. Are you a coverholic? I'm just kidding. So yeah, after a year at our house, we opened up our first commercial location in West Valley. And we were there for what seems like forever. And then we moved into our current location now in Salt Lake at the beginning of this year, January 1st of this year.
And so, yeah, this new location is the one that I went to. And I think we were talking about this, but when you guys were looking at this space, I was like originally asking your mother-in-law, like, was it like this? Did you guys have to renovate it? And she was like, this place was toe up.
Oh, toe up from the floor. It was horrible.
She was kind of telling me that you guys initially were just looking at one space, and then when I think it was like your realtor or something heard that you guys wanted like a his and hers portion of things, he was like, actually, like the next building like right over is also available. And your mother-in-law was telling me that it was like, I don't know, was it like a restaurant or something? And it was like,
so my side, the barbershop side, was a hookah bar.
Oh, okay.
It was like a smoking place or whatever. And in the back of our business, there was a shed that caught fire. And so my side on the ceiling had smoke damage. And so there were fire marks and everything. I mean, just the before and after pictures of our place is astonishing. Shout out my wife's uncle. Me and him, we were able to renovate. So we negotiated a contract on the location. Talked our landlord down and did all the renovations ourselves. And so from January 1st, we had our grand opening at the beginning of April. So it took us about 3 to 4 months to get everything situated, decorated, renovated, and all that.
Dang, that's so dope.
Yeah.
But I think like walking into a space like that and still maintaining like a vision of what you could turn it into is it's like a trait that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like for a lot of people, they would walk in there and just be like, absolutely not. Like,
I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah. Like, I'm not lifting a damn finger. I already dropped out of school for this. I'm not going to renovate it.
And I think it's just my wife, especially, she's very creative in that aspect. And when we looked at the place, she said, babe, this is exactly what I had in mind. 2 separate buildings. They're still together, but there's a wall down the middle that divides the his and her side. And so myself, with my background, I didn't come from too much money. We had enough to get by. Yeah. And so you had to make do with what you had. And so when I saw the building, I was like, we're going to make this work. This will be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, just pictures going off. Pinterest is our go-to. Pinterest
really
come in clutch. Pinterest helped.
And so something that I want to learn more about is I know that you guys still want to offer like even more services.
Yes.
And so what is that eventually going to look like? What is the end game for the Royal Lounge?
Good question. So currently, my wife is going to nursing school. She graduates in, I want to say, about 2 years.
Okay.
And so I'm helping support her in that. And then we want to transform our business into a med spa. And so we want to scale up and offer higher end services, still at a discounted price. But we want to be able to attract and bring in more of that higher end clientele and offering services such as Botox, lip fillers, tattoo removal.
I'll come to you guys for that too.
I'm telling you, a whole week minimum.
Just like every day. I'm like, oh, I'm here for filler today.
So those of you that have that tattoo that you regret, that tattoo of that ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, come get that taken off in a couple of years.
Dang. No, I think that's so cool. I don't know. I just, when I see the Royal Lounge and when I went and like saw it for myself, I was just like really impressed that we have two Pacifica owners who are making something of this magnitude. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one thing to have like a salon, but then to like keep adding on these services, and I'm just like, you can get your grills done over here. Like, that's so freaking dope.
Yeah.
I just think it's something that you don't really see when you go to any salon anywhere, where you're just like, oh, you do tattoos as well? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're going to be offering Botox and fillers here too? And so, I don't know. I just am like impressed with you guys. And like, I think when we first met, like I had seen like the Royal Lounge before. I had never been. Like, I'd heard of it on like social media. I think I followed you guys just for the hell of it, because I was like, I don't know who these people are, but this is cool.
I'm gonna support our people.
Yeah. But I'm just curious with like you guys kind of going into med school and you guys deciding to drop out. Your wife is now back in school.
Yes.
I'm curious specifically on like, why did you feel that building the Royal Lounge was more important than building a medical career?
That's a great question. And a lot of people would look at us crazy and be like, you were going to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, I asked this because I actually was going to go into medicine for a while. So when I was in high school, I was doing like concurrent enrollment. So I was like taking college courses. I almost finished my associate's degree.
Yeah.
But I took like a lot of like honors and like AP classes for physiology and medical terminology and all these things. And I was like, oh, I think I want to go into medicine because doctors make the most money.
Exactly.
And I think I want to be a doctor because I was just in it for the money. But I decided like, I think I was like really good at school, but then I went to UVU. I was there for 2 weeks and then I dropped out.
Okay.
And I literally was there and I was just like, this shit is not for me.
This is not it.
And, like, I'm glad I came to that realization like really fast.
Yeah.
Because I know people who like spend years in school and they're still not done or whatever. And they're just like, I just have to see it through now because I've invested too much into it to not finish. And so like, yeah, that was something that I'm like glad that I came to a realization to early. But yeah, I wanted to go into medicine, but it's just not where my passion was. So I'm curious, like, why did you feel the Royal Lounge was more important than building a medical career? And do you see yourself still pursuing a medical career?
Great question. Thank you. So my wife, funny story, when me and my wife first met and I told her I was studying medicine, so I was studying to be a cardiologist. I wanted to be a heart doctor. Because growing up Polynesian, your parents are like, go to school, go to college, become a lawyer, a doctor.
Were your parents like, did they grow up here in the States?
My mother's an immigrant. So she grew up in Samoa, and then my dad grew up in California.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, you get that, go to school, get a good job, provide for your family and stuff like that. And my wife, when she met me and I told her what I was going into, she said, you don't look like a doctor. I said, what is a doctor supposed to look like?
You're like, excuse me.
Do I not fit the MO?
Were you wearing grills at the time? You're like, what do you mean?
Faded up and everything. But I was like, what do you mean I don't look like a doctor? She said, you look more like a businessman. Like you should be like in a suit and stuff like that. I was like, what? I've never seen myself like that. Yeah. I've always wanted to go into medicine.
You're like, okay, fine. I guess I'll be a businessman.
I was like, wow, you're not supporting my dreams? But we decided like, hey, medicine's good and all. It's a great career to go into. But like you mentioned, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people, they'll reach that endpoint and they're like, okay, I just got to see it through. I've already built up all this debt.
Yeah.
I might as well just get this degree. But what we notice is a lot of people will get their degree and they don't use it.
Yeah.
Or the thing with medicine is a lot of those doctors are on call. I don't want to get a call at 3-4 o'clock in the morning talking about you got to come to the OR.
Gabe, can you put the grills down and come come to the OR, please.
Like, no, I enjoy my beauty sleep. I enjoy my sleeping at night. And I'm sure my wife wouldn't appreciate it, and I wouldn't appreciate it if she left either.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately why we decided, like, hey, it's actually a better work-life balance if you're able to start a business.
Yeah.
Because you're managing your own time.
Yeah.
Right? You're creating your own schedule versus being on call, being in thousands of dollars in debt. And, you know, that takes years to pay off when we can actually, in this industry, get paid the same day.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting paid immediately.
I am so paranoid about debt. I think that was like one of the main reasons why I like decided to drop out of school, because I was like, what do you mean I have to apply for a financial aid?
What's a student
What
loan?
do you mean I have to get a scholarship?
And I, like you, so I went to the U and I dropped out after a semester. I was like, oh no.
You're like, how much is that book?
$16,000 in debt right off the bat for one semester. I was like, oh no.
Oh, dang.
That's not it. We're going to start a business, babe.
And so, I mean, like, now that you guys are looking into becoming a med spa, do you see yourself going down that path of like still trying to help your wife with those services? Or do you think she's going to be kind of like carrying that load for like the fillers and the Botox and everything?
So eventually I do want to go back into nursing school. That way I can assist her with the things. With a lot of the services that we offer, my wife's an instructor. And so what an instructor means, so in the state of Utah, some of the services like eyelashes, for example, and barbering, you have to go to school, right? You have to get a specific licensing, do a certain amount of hours and stuff. But with an instructor's license, people can actually come to you instead of going to a school.
Yeah.
And so where she's an instructor, she'll be able to certify me and teach me a lot of these services. That way I can take the workload off of the current services that she offers, and she can kind of focus more on like injecting and poking people's lips and stuff like that. And so I do want to take the workload off of her with the current services that she offers, and then eventually be able to help her with the higher end services.
Dang, that is so cool. I think like the main reason why I started this podcast just from the get is just because I wanted to highlight like Pacifica creatives. I wanted to highlight Pacifica entrepreneurs. And so I just feel like when I see people doing the damn thing or like bringing something new to the table, it's just something I commend and I applaud. And so I think like when I first met you guys in person, I was like, oh my gosh, I've heard of them before. And I was like, I need to bring them onto the podcast. I need to do it. And so we met you guys were participating in Creative Pacific.
We were.
Which is a nonprofit organization that I was assisting with. And so I kind of handled like a lot of like the social media and the creative direction for shoots with them.
Yeah.
But they hosted like these workshops, and you guys taught a workshop about like, it was literally was like wellness, right? It was, I can't remember the title.
Beauty and wellness.
Beauty and wellness.
That's it.
And so I remember like seeing you guys there, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go into this workshop, introduce myself. We'll just see what it's all about. But it was cool to kind of hear your guys's stories, because it's something that resonates with I feel like a lot of Polynesians, where we're just like, we're very family oriented. I feel like a lot of us are very driven. We just don't know where to direct all of that passion.
Yeah.
A lot of the times. And I feel like a lot of times we try to direct our community to put that into athletics or sports. And so whenever I see that like redirected somewhere else, whether it be in like business or like creativity and like just like different projects and stuff like that,
We're all for it.
Yeah. I literally like listen to those people, and I kind of like cling to them, because I wasn't the person who was going to make it in athletics. So I had to find another way to do that.
Yeah.
But again, with like parents who had set expectations of like, you need to go to school, you need to go do like, you needed to go do this and this and like become a doctor, become a lawyer or whatever. But I feel like I had to kind of like, I don't know, like help my parents kind of reimagine what success looks like, because I'm like, school wasn't necessary for me to be successful.
100%.
And like school wasn't necessary for me to build a career in tech or to start this podcast or whatever it may be. And so I'm just curious from your perspective, like what has been like the most challenging part of running a business?
Yeah. So
especially a business as big as your guys is.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I stepped away from my full-time job so that I could have more time with my kids. And so I feel like the biggest challenge, not to sound cocky or anything, is just all our time now is just dedicated to our business. We don't have time for each other because we're busy trying to run a business, promotions, like how are we scaling the next 6 to 12 months and stuff like that. And so every conversation whenever we're together is about our business and how it's going to grow, which isn't a bad thing at all. But just we haven't had time this year to take a vacation at all, you know, and we've got one coming up soon. Thank goodness. It's always good to step away and to recenter yourself. But that time, and I mentioned something on the panel at the Creative Pacific that me and my wife were on, and it's always stuck with me. And it's one thing that I love is that when people start a business, they always, you know, pray to God or pray to the higher being that, you know, I want this business to take off, and they pray for it. They pray that it's going to take off and they're going to make lots of money. And then years down the road, when it actually does, they're complaining like, oh, now I'm doing too much. Like, oh, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
This business is taking too much of my time and all this. But you prayed for that.
Yeah.
You know, you prayed for that success and it's coming to you and you're complaining about it. Like, that's one thing that we take pride in is we don't complain that we're busy all the time with our business because it's a blessing. We are so grateful to be busy. And yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge that we face now is just managing our personal time with our daughters while still being able to run our business.
No, I love what you said about like being busy is a good thing.
It's great.
Especially when you are an entrepreneur, when you are owning a business, being busy is good.
Yes,
so
100%.
I definitely can relate to that with like the work-life balance. Like it gets tough. Like I am still kind of in that transition of figuring out how long I want to stay with my 9-to-5 job and like when I want to make the jump to pursue my creative passions full time.
Yeah.
And that is just something like, again, I'm like super paranoid about debt. And so I like always think about like, okay, if I quit my job, then
how much I
do this
saved
podcast.
up?
How am I going to make money on this podcast? How am I going to do this? And like, just things like that are, I don't know, they just like rack all of my thoughts, like, and they wreck me on a daily basis. And so it's cool to kind of hear your guys' story because I'm sure you guys were thinking the same things of like, okay, how the hell is this going to work out?
Yeah.
But you guys freaking pulled the trigger and did the damn thing.
Yeah.
And I think that is so cool. Who knows? Maybe I'll quit my job this week.
You're going to quit tomorrow. After this podcast, you're going to quit tomorrow. I hope I inspired you today. Just do it.
But I mean, like, it just sounds like so far, like the payoff has been really great for you guys. Like the work-life balance, like, yes, there's challenges, but it sounds like there's a lot more coming our way with the Royal Lounge.
Yes.
What have been some of like the highlights for you with the Royal Lounge?
Oh man, great question. I think some of the most rewarding things have been since we've opened our newest location here in Salt Lake City and all the renovations that have taken place, we've grown our team, right? So within the 7 years, about 6 of those years was just me and my wife and my mother-in-law just running the business. And so now that we've got a team of people behind us, so we've got a total of 9 employees. We don't call them employees, we call them family members because of the atmosphere that we've created within our business. And so that's been the most rewarding thing is we've been able to kind of step away and attend a lot of events, especially within the Polynesian community. Yeah. And we trust that our employees back at our salon are still going to be able to hold things down and hold the fort down. And it was kind of scary at first, you know, unsure like, okay, are they going to provide the same kind of quality that we provide? But being able to instill that trust in them is going to allow for us to be able to take more vacations, take more time away, run the business from behind the scenes instead of having to be there at the actual business.
No, I think that's so cool as well. I think like seeing how much you guys have been able to grow and like the path that you guys are on right now to continue growing, it just makes me excited for you guys. And so I think I kind of just wanted to ask about like your guys' family dynamic a little bit, but with your 2 girls, right? You guys have 2 baby girls.
Correct.
What do you think, like, what do you want them to learn about your guys' business endeavor from the Royal Lounge? Like you named it after one of your kids, but I mean, what do you hope is like the biggest takeaway that they get from this whole experience now that they're sitting there watching you guys do it every day? Yeah. What are you hoping for them?
So with our daughters, the reason why we bring them to the business is to know, like, so that they can know as they continue to grow, like, oh, mom and dad, they were hardworking people. and everything that we do is for our daughters. And so ultimately, that's the reason we started up the Royal Lounge, is to be able to leave something behind for them once we're gone, once we're not here anymore, leave a legacy for our kids. We want them to learn that, hey, our parents loved us so much that they were willing to sacrifice, odd hours of the day from, 6 a.m. all the way to 12 o'clock at night, taking these clients so that we could be able to go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And we want them to just feel loved at the end of the day.
Is that your guys' next family trip?
That is. We're going to California. California in 2 weeks. I'm not counting down. There's not a countdown on my phone right now. So yeah.
No, I think like for me, it's definitely along the same lines of like whenever I am participating in like Creative Pacific or when I am working on this podcast, like I just hope that my kids can see it as something as like, damn, dad like really put in a lot of time and effort into the things that he loves. Like I don't want my kids to grow up and find themselves locked in a career path because they just didn't do what they were passionate about. And like kind of just going back to just like people who get stuck in school and like they feel like they need to finish. Yeah. Isn't it like mind blowing that these are like some of the professionals that we're going to for services where I'm like, you didn't even want to do this. You just like,
and you're
finished.
miserable.
Yeah. Like you hate this.
Yeah.
You hate people.
You don't want me to be here right now.
It was like, you hate people and you're my doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just think it's so cool that like, this is something that you were able to do with your wife and to kind of build it together. It's not often that I see like couples pursue something together. Yes, there's always like so many people who I see starting businesses and their spouses are supportive, but it's just a little bit different with you guys because you're both
together.
Yeah, you're both together grinding it out and like trying to make everything work. And that's just not something like a perspective I hear super often, which is why I wanted to like bring you on so you can talk about it a little bit more. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just curious, like, are there any other big plans that you guys have for the Royal Lounge at all that you guys want us to keep an eye out for?
So keep a lookout for a private label product line that we've got coming out, especially for face care. So our goal is to harvest all natural items from the islands of Samoa. So like Coco Samoa, right? It comes from a bean. And we know a lot of like face scrubs, exfoliants, they have coffee grounds in them. Yeah. And coffee beans and stuff. And so we want to be able to harvest not only Coco Samoa, but coconut oil, aloe, and stuff like that. Bring on a chemist and formulate a face scrub line. Okay, that's actually really cool. Yeah. To kind of like, I think that's a cool way to like pay homage to like your cultural backgrounds 100%. As well. Exactly. Again, I think like even from like the islands, there's so many like natural remedies that we use, and to kind of like implement them in products is cool. Yeah. I mean, like, I know like kava is a big thing for Tongans, right? But I mean, like, it's cool to kind of see people using kava in different ways in order to get like health benefits from it. Like it's not just a recreational activity anymore. Right. You know what I mean? So that's cool that you guys are kind of thinking outside the box, because I mean, like, are there products like that out here right now? I mean, I'm sure there are, but I mean, like, I haven't really heard of any in Utah. Nothing Pacific wise. Yeah. Right. And so I'm sure somebody will try to like gentrify it and oh yeah. I'm sure some Karen's gonna try to put their name on it. But the goal with that is by launching the product line, not only is it going to be all natural, but it would also provide stability and a source of income for people back in Samoa. Yeah. Right. We're not going to be, doing this stuff for free. Right. We want to pay. We've got family and stuff back home that are be able to ship us the products. That way we can manufacture them here in state. Dang, that is so cool. Yeah. Do you guys have like an ETA for that, or like soon to come? Okay. Soon to come. So our focus right now is growing our apprenticeship program with the instructors license that I said my wife has, just bringing on apprentices and then hiring more employees. I want to say with our skincare product line within the next year. Dang. Within the next year. Okay. That's exciting. I mean, like, again, there's just so much that you guys offer, and it's cool to kind of hear how you guys started, where you guys are headed. Overall, like anybody who's listening in, you guys know that Gabe and Faith, they're the real deal. I'm just thankful that you took time out of your day to come onto this podcast. Thanks for having me. No, I'm so thankful. I think that
I just love hearing stories like this. I love that it's kind of like a way for us to kind of like document these stories for our kids. And that was kind of like a big thing for me with this podcast, where
That's awesome.
I really wanted, like, for God forbid, if I like pass away one day, I'm like, I think it's cool that we can have these stories kind of solidified for whoever needs to hear it. And
Love that.
I think, like, with what we were talking about, what we want our kids to take out of these endeavors that we're pursuing, you know, it's like we want them to be surrounded with like love. We want them to be surrounded by like around like hard work ethic, you know? And so I think for me, this podcast is important because I'm like, I don't want these stories to go unheard. And I don't think our kids would want that either. So
100%.
it's a little bit of investment, but with high risk comes high reward.
That's it. That's it. It takes money to make money.
My 9 to 5 because you have convinced me. But I'm grateful that you were able to come on. Go ahead and let people know how they can find you guys on social media and they can give you a follow.
For sure. So you can book with us directly through our social media. We have all our links in there. On Facebook, you can just search up The Royal Lounge. On Instagram, it's The Royal Lounge _UT. Or you can search us up on Google. We're on Google as well. If you've got a chance, book an appointment, stop on in and leave us a Google review. So we're striving to grow our footprint in the Salt Lake area, being that we've been there almost a year now. And so just growing our business on Google and stuff like that. But yeah, feel free to stop in. Thank you so much, Robin, for having me on the podcast today. It's been amazing.
Okay, well, I'll let you know when I book my next appointment, and let me know when you guys start offering fillers and Botox.
There we go. You don't need a tattoo removed, right?
No, I don't need a tattoo removed, but I will be coming in for a gold implant.
Hey, let's do it. You're really tonguing now.
No, I dead ass want one. I know my wife would kill me, but I'm like, you guys can do one that just like pops in, right?
That's it. That's it. So it's a gold
like, as
cap.
long as I can take it off so my wife doesn't like beat the shit out of me every day.
Take it off before you get home and walk through the door.
Like, what tooth?
Go to job, pop it back in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.